Which team had the best secondary in the NFL during the 2018 regular season? We're here to answer all of your questions for every secondary. I'm Steve Palazzolo, and that's Mike Renner. And right here we have the PFF secondary rankings, the full list and breakdowns over at ProFootballFocus.com. But Mike, let's break it down. I know they just lost in the wild card round, but Chicago Bears' best secondary this year, the best on the back end.
Yeah, was not the defense's fault in that game. I'd say Kyle Fuller, career year here at cornerback after he got the big deal of the offseason. But the big name here, Eddie Jackson, our all-pro safety, had a fantastic second season. Fifth rounder a season ago, came out of really nowhere. That safety deal with him and Adrian Amos, probably the best safety deal in the NFL this year.
The important thing to remember here as we go through this list, every single one of these teams had a few games where they got beat up. It wasn't a great year for defense, but the Bears, I think, clearly had the best defense in the NFL. Great pass rush, plus the secondary. Number 2 on the list, though, the New England Patriots, Stephon Gilmore, our top-graded corner. During the regular season, they got some good play from J.C. Jackson. So the Patriots, just solid across the board with Gilmore being the star.
Yeah, they consistently get the most out of their secondary of probably any team in the NFL, year in, year out. Like you mentioned, Stephon Gilmore, career year, career high grade for them. But also Jason McCourty, who they traded for over the course of the offseason, he had a career high grade as well. So fantastic year on the back end for them.
How about the Los Angeles Chargers last year? Our best secondary based off the play of Casey Hayward and the great rookie play from Desmond King in the slot. King was good once again, but they added the great Derwin James, Mike. That makes them that much better.
Incredible that they added Derwin James to an already fantastic secondary. Casey Hayward didn't have quite the year after he won a top coverage defender, but he was still fantastic in his own right. But Derwin's the big name here. Second team All-Pro for us. Basically did it all for them in that defense, whether it was covering the slot, playing deep, in the box. He was a do-it-all safety. That was a fantastic secondary.
Desmond King was a flex all-pro for us based off his play in the slot, playing that slot zone-heavy role to perfection for the Chargers. Let's just round out the top 5 here. Houston Texans, that's a huge name for me, and I think that's the reason why they won so many games. This was a major question mark coming into the year.
Yeah, they were one of the worst in the NFL last year in terms of their secondary. Kevin Johnson, the former first rounder, was dismal last year. They got him out of the lineup. Jonathan Joseph, Kareem Jackson had much improved this year, especially Kareem Jackson, who alternated between safety, corner, slot corner, but doing it all, he was fantastic once again.
And then rookie Justin Reed gets in there. He has some quality play. If you look at the Texans' grades over on Premium Stats, it's just really good, solid across the board, no major weakness back there. And then the Baltimore Ravens, again, like the Bears, they just lost. They had one of the best defenses in the league, but in the back end and the creativity that they had with Eric Weddle, they had Tony Jefferson back there, and all the corners played, really tough to match up against.
Yeah, they put a big investment in that secondary. If you talk about the free agents, Eric Weddle, Tony Jefferson, Brandon Carr, and then 2 first-rounders in Marlon Humphrey and whose name is Jimmy Smith's name is literally there. So Marlon Humphrey, though, fantastic in year 2. Took a big step forward. I was a big fan of his coming out, the first rounder. He looks like he's going to be a stud.
All right, before we get to the bottom and we see who's rounding out the rest of the list, any other teams that stood out here? I think the Browns stood out to me on this list because another major question mark coming in, but they got Denzel Ward.
It was only a year ago where it was Greg Williams saying, we can't run the coverages I want. We don't have the guys on the back end. They trade for Demarius Randall, Jabril Peppers. They play him in a more favorable role to his skill set. Get Denzel Ward in the draft. All of a sudden, everything comes together. Now they're a top 10 secondary.
I think the other notable one, the Jacksonville Jaguars sitting here at 12 after last year. They had one of the best defenses both in the front and on the back end. Jalen Ramsey a step back, A.J. Boye a step back. Barry Church really struggled as well.
I mean, Barry Church, they cut him. He was that bad. He was one of our lowest graded safeties in the NFL. But the bigger thing was Jalen Ramsey. I mean, all that talk over the course of the offseason, you expect him to take his game to this Deion Sanders-esque Hall of Fame level. He gives up almost 200 more yards than he did a season ago, did not back it up. They took a step back to number 12.
All right, let's take a look at the bottom end, 28 through 32. The 49ers coming in dead last. They gave up a lot, and they also did not create too many turnovers. Some disappointment back there.
Yeah, the turnovers were a big thing. Sherman was, his old self there, but they just didn't have to target him because every single other player in that secondary, it seemed like, was a liability. Probably the most busted coverages of any defense also that I saw all season long.
Oakland Raiders just struggled everywhere defensively. They had no pass rush. Look, this is connected a little bit to pass rush, and they by far had the worst pass rush. That wasn't helping.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't helping. I will say, though, Gary Connolly came on strong strong over the second half of the season. Got benched early in the season because he was having so many issues, but strong over the second half. And then Carl Joseph, the former first rounder, had a career high grade as well, was the highest graded player there. So not all bad. We can pile on the Raiders all day if we wanted to.
We won't. We'll check out the front seven rankings. And then the Detroit Lions, the only other one I want to highlight. Darius Slay takes a step back, but even after him, it was kind of Darius Slay and then a whole bunch of question marks, and that's what we saw.
Well, they drafted Tease Tabor in the second round a year ago, and you expected him to come in and at least be able to play the slot. I know he ran the slow 40, so at least be able to play the slot at a high level. He gave up the second highest passer rating when targeted any cornerback in the league. He got benched. He just was not good there, so they had a lot of issues on the back end.
So there you have it. It's our top 32 secondaries in the NFL. Check out the full breakdown over at ProFootballFocus.com, and be sure to let us know in the comments what you think of our top 32.